Adapted from archaic translation by W.H.D. Rouse. Jātaka number 294. Jambu-Khādaka-Jātaka. Who is it sits, etc. This story the master told at the bamboo grove, about devadatta and kokalika. At the time when devadatta began to lose his benefits/alms and his repute, kokalika went from house to house, saying, "Elder monk Devadatta is born of the line of the first great king of the royal stock of Okkaka, by an uninterrupted noble descent, versed in all the scriptures, full of ecstatic sanctity, sweet of speech, a preacher of the law. Give to the elder monk, help him." In these words he praised up Devadatta. On the other hand, Devadatta praised up kokalika, in such words as these. Kokalika comes from a northern Brahmin family. He follows the religious life. He is learned in teaching, a preacher of the law. Give to kokalika, help him. So they went about, praising each other, and getting fed in different houses. One day the brothers began to talk about it in the Hall of Truth. "Friend, Devadatta and kokalika go about praising each other for virtues which they haven't got, and so getting food." The master came in, and asked what they were talking about as they sat there. They told him. Said he, "Brethren, this is not the first time that these men have got food by praising each other. Long ago they did the same," and he told them an old world tale. Once upon a time, when Brahmadatta was king of Benares, the Bodhisattva became a tree fairy in a certain rose apple grove. Crow perched upon a branch of his tree, and began to eat the fruit. Then came a jackal, and looked up and saw the crow. Thought he, "If I flatter this creature, perhaps I shall get some of the fruit to eat." So in flattery he repeated the first stanza. "Who is it sits in a rose apple tree, sweet singer? Whose voice trickles gently to me? Like a young peacock she coos with soft grace, and ever sits still in her place." The crow, in his praise, responded with the second. "He that is noble in upbringing and birth can praise others' upbringing, knows what they are worth. Like a young tiger you seemest to be. Come, eat, sir, what I give to you." With these words she shook the branch and made some fruit drop. Then the spirit of the tree, seeing these two eating, after flattering each other, repeated the third stanza. "Liars foregather, I very well know. Here, for example, a rotting flesh crow, and corpse-eating jackal, with puerile clatter proceed one another to flatter." After repeating this stanza, the tree fairy, assuming a fearful shape, scared them both away. When the master had ended this discourse, he summed up the birth tale. At that time the jackal was Devadatta, the crow was kokalika, but the spirit of the tree was I myself. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by W.H.D. Rouse. Jātaka number 295. Anta-Jātaka. Like to a bull, etc. This is another story told by the master in the same place and about the same people. The circumstances are the same as before. Once upon a time, when Brahmadatta was king of Benares, the Bodhisattva became the spirit of a castor oil tree which stood in the approach to a certain village. An old ox died in a certain village. And they dragged the dead body out and throw it down in the grove of these trees by the village gate. A jackal came and began to eat its flesh. Then came a crow, and perched upon the tree. When she saw the jackal, she thought about whether by flattery she could get some of this meat to eat. And so she repeated the first stanza. "Like to a bull your body seems to be, like to a lion your activity. O king of beasts! All glory be to you. Please don't forget to leave a bit for ink." On hearing this the jackal repeated the second. "They that of gentle birth and upbringing be know how to praise the gentle worthily, O crow, whose neck is like the peacock's neck, come down from off the tree and take a peck." The tree spirit, on seeing this, repeated the third. "The lowest of all beasts the jackal is, the crow is lowest of all birds know well, the castor oil of trees the lowest tree. And now these lowest things are here all three." When the master had ended this discourse he identified the birth. At that time Devadatta was the jackal, Kokalika was the crow, but the tree spirit was I myself. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by W.H.D. Rouse. Jātaka number 296. Samudda-Jātaka. Over the salt sea wave, etc. This story the master told at Jetavana monastery, about elder monk Upananda. This man was a great eater and drinker. There was no satisfying him even with cartloads of provisions. During the rainy season he would pass his time at 2 or 3 different settlements. Leaving his shoes in one, his walking stick in another, and his water jar in a third, and one he lived in himself. When he visited a country monastery, and saw the brothers with their necessities all ready, he began to talk about the 4 classes of contented ascetics. Laid hold of their garments, and made them pick up rags from the dust heap. Made them take earthen bowls, and give him any bowls that he fancied and their metal bowls. Then he filled a cart with them, and carried them off to Jetavana monastery. One day people began to talk in the Hall of Truth. Friend, Upananda of the Saka clan, a great eater, a greedy fellow, has been preaching righteous path to other people, and here he comes with a cartful of elder monks' property. The master came in, and wanted to know what they were talking of as they sat there. They told him. Brethren, said he, Upananda has gone wrong before by talking about this contentment. But a man should first of all become modest in his desires, before praising the good behavior of other people. Yourself first establish in righteousness, then teach. The wise should not self-seeking be. Pointing out this verse from the Dhammapada, and blaming Upananda, he went on, this is not the first time, brethren, that Upananda has been greedy. Long ago, he thought even the water in the ocean should be saved. And he told an old world tale. Once upon a time, when Brahmadatta was king of Benares, the Bodhisattva became a sea spirit. Now it so happened that a water crow was passing over the sea. He went flying about, and trying to cheek the shoals of fish and flocks of birds, crying, don't drink too much of the sea water. Be careful of it. On seeing him, the sea spirit repeated the first stanza. Over the salt sea wave who flies? Who checks the shoals of fish, and tries the monsters of the deep to stay, otherwise all the sea be drunk away. The water crow heard this, and answered with the second stanza. A drinker never satisfied, so people call me the world wide, to drink the sea I gladly would tray, and drain the lord of rivers dry. On hearing which the sea spirit repeated the third. The ocean ever ebbs away, and fills again the same day. Whoever knew the sea to fail? To drink it up can none avail. With these words the spirit assumed a terrible shape and frightened the water crow away. When the master had ended this discourse, he identified the birth. At that time, Upananda was the water crow, but the spirit was I myself. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by W.H.D. Rouse. Jātaka number 297. Kāma-Vilāpa-Jātaka. O bird, that flies, etc. This story the master told at Jetavana monastery, about a man who longed for his former wife. The circumstances which called it on are explained in the Puffarata birth tale, and the tale of the past in the Indriya birth tale. So the man was impaled alive. As he hung there, he looked up and saw a crow flying through the air. And, nothing thinking of the bitter pain, he hailed the crow, to send a message to his dear wife, repeating these verses following. O bird, that flies in the sky. O winged bird, that flies high. Tell my wife, with thighs so fair. Long will seem the time to her. She knows not sword and spear are set. Full with pain and angry she will fret. That is my torment and my fear, and not that I am hanging here. My lotus armor I have put by, and jewels in my pillow lie, and soft Benares cloth beside. With wealth let her be satisfied. With these cryings, he died. When the mister had ended this discourse, he explained the truths, and identified the birth attained the fruition of the first path. The wife then was the wife now. But the spirit who saw this, was I myself. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by W.H.D. Rouse. Jataka number 298. Udumbara-Jataka. Ripe are the figs, etc. This story the master told at Jetavana Monastery, about a certain brother, who had made a hermitage to live in at a certain village on the frontier. This delightful living stood upon a flat rock. A little well-swept spot, with enough water to make it pleasant, a village close at hand to go your rounds in, and friendly people to give food. A brother on his rounds arrived at this place. The elder monk who lived in it did the duties of host to the new arrival, and next day took him along with him for his rounds. The people gave him food, and invited him to visit them again next day. After the newcomer had thus lived a few days, he conspired by what means he could oust the other and get hold of the hermitage. Once when he had come to wait upon the elder monk, he asked, "Have you ever visited the Buddha, friend?" "Why no, sir. There's no one here to look after my hut, or I should have gone before." "Oh, I'll look after it while you are gone to visit the Buddha," said the newcomer. And so the owner went, after laying injunctions upon the villagers to take care of the holy brother until his return. The newcomer proceeded to backbite his host, and hinted to the villagers all sorts of faults in him. The other visited his master, and returned. But the newcomer refused him shelter. He found a place to abide in, and next day went on his rounds in the village. But the villagers would not do their duty by hire. He was much discouraged, and went back to Jetavana Monastery, where he told the brethren all about it. They began to discuss the matter in their ball of truth. "Friend, monk so-and-so has turned monk so-and-so out of his hermitage, and taken it for himself." The master came in, and wanted to know what they were discussing as they sat there. They told him. Said he, "Brethren, this is not the first time that this man turned the other out of his living." And he told them an old world tale. Once upon a time, when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the Bodhisattva became a tree spirit in the woods. At that time during the rainy season rain used to pour down 7 days on a stretch. A certain small red-faced monkey lived in a rock cave sheltered from the rain. One day he was sitting at the mouth of it, in the dry, quite happy. As he sat there, a big black-faced monkey, wet through, perishing with cold, saw him. "How can I get that fellow out, and live in his hole?" he wondered. Puffing out his belly, and making as though he had eaten a good meal, he stopped in front of the other, and repeated the first stanza. "Ripe are the figs, the banyan's good, and ready for the monkey's food. Come along with me and eat. Why should you for hunger fret?" Redface believed all this, and longed to have all this fruit to eat. So he went off, and hunted here, and hunted there, but no fruit could he find. Then he came back again. And there was Blackface sitting inside his cave. He determined to outwit him. So stopping in front he repeated the second stanza. "Happy he who honor pays to his elders full of days. Just as happy I feel now after all that fruit, I vow." The big monkey listened, and repeated the third. When Greek meets Greek, then comes the tug of war. A monkey scents a monkey's tricks afar. Even a young one were too sharp by half. But old birds never can be caught with chaff. The other made off. When the master ended this discourse, he summed up the birth tale. At that time the owner of the hut was the little monkey, the interloper was the big black monkey, but the tree spirit was I myself. Source. Adapted from Archaic Translation by W.H.D. Rouse. Jataka number 299. Kāma-Vilāpa-Jātaka. Formerly you were used, etc. This story the master told in Pubarama, about some brethren who were rude and rough in their manners. These brethren, who lived on the floor below that where the master was, talked of what they had seen and heard, and were quarrelsome and abusive. The master called Mahamajaliana to him, and asked him to go startle them. The elder monk rose in the air, and just touched the foundation of the house with his great toe. It shook to the furthest edge of ocean. The brothers were frightened to death, and came and stood outside. Their rough behavior became known among the brethren. One day they got to talking about it in the Hall of Truth. "Friend, there are some brethren who have retired to this house of salvation, who are rough and rude. They do not see the impermanence, sorrow, and unreality of the world, nor do their duty." The master came in, and asked what they were discussing as they sat there. They told him. "This is not the first time, brethren," said he, "that they have been rough and rude. They were the same before." And he told them an old world tale. Once upon a time, when Brahmadatta reigned king in Benares, the Bodhisattva was born as a Brahmin's son in a village. They named him Kāma-Vilāpa-Jātaka. In due course of time he went out and embraced the religious life in the region of Himalaya. There were some frivolous ascetics who had made a hermitage in that region, and there they lived. But they did not take the means to induce meditative ecstasy. They fetched the fruits from the woods, to eat. Then they spent the time laughing and joking together. They had a monkey, rude-mannered like themselves, which gave them endless amusement by his grimaces and antics. Long they lived in this place, till they had to go amongst men again to get salt and condiments. After they went away, the Bodhisattva lived in their living place. The monkey played his pranks for him as he had done for the others. The Bodhisattva pointed his fingers at him and gave him a lecture, saying, "One who lives with well-trained ascetics should behave properly, should be well advised in his actions, and devoted to meditation." After that, the monkey was always virtuous and well behaved. After this, the Bodhisattva moved away. The other ascetics returned with their salt and condiments. But the monkey no longer played his pranks for them. "What's this, my friend?" they asked. "Why don't you make sport, as you used to do?" One of them repeated the first stanza. "Formerly you were used to play where in this hut we hermits stay. O monkey! As a monkey do. When you are good we love not you." On hearing this, the monkey repeated the second stanza. "All perfect wisdom by the word of wise Kāma I have heard. Think me not now as I was late, now it is my love to meditate." On this the hermit repeated the third. "If seed upon the rock you sow, though rain should fall, it will not grow. You may hear perfect wisdom still, but meditate you never will." When the master had ended this discourse, he explained the truths, and identified the birth. At that time these brothers were the frivolous hermits, but Kāma-Vilāpa-Jātaka was I myself.